Well, for more on this situation, let's speak to David Mack. He's a scholar at the Middle East Institute and joins me live from Washington, D.C. Good to speak to you. So the importance of the Golan Heights has significantly diminished in recent years. Why would President Trump take this decision and stir all this controversy now?
President Trump took this decision for U.S. domestic reasons and for Israeli domestic reasons. He's trying to help his good pal, Bibi Netanyahu, win an election. Netanyahu was losing ground to his opponents, and this is a kind of a cheap way from Trump's view. What Trump does not understand is that this greatly undercuts U.S. interests in the Middle East and U.S. interests globally.
So then, how is this decision likely to impact politics in the region?
I think it will be a very destabilizing. First of all, it removes the United States from playing any positive role in trying to proceed with some kind of democratic reforms in Syria so that Syria can eventually get back on its feet, stop being an economic basket case and a political zone of carnage. Secondly, it means that the United States, which was already in a weak position with regard to the Israeli-Palestinian dispute, will be even less likely to play a positive role. And over the long term, this greatly undercuts the prospects for Israeli-Arab long-standing and durable peace. So I would say that this is a terrible deal for the United States and our long-term interests, and even for Israel, it's going to undercut its longer-term interests. This was just a deal for Bibi Netanyahu and Donald J. Trump and their short-term political aspirations.
So, I mean, as you said, this decision of recognizing Israel's position in Golan has divided his allies. So why has he chosen to continue along this path, David?
Well, we know that the way the president makes his decisions, he tends to do them on a spontaneous basis, without consulting very often from his senior aides, and certainly without getting the views of the U.S. diplomatic, military, and intelligence establishment. We have a history of this right now. But I would stress that this not only has greatly diminished the U.S. role in the Middle East and strengthening Iran and Russia by contrast, as well as terrorist groups that say the United States only supports Israeli aggression. But we should look at this in the bigger global context. What will the United States say when Russia continues its aggression against Ukraine and other neighboring states around the Black Sea? We've already seen Russian aggression against Ukraine. Now, is the United States simply going to accept Russian sovereignty over Crimea and eastern areas of Ukraine? Is it going to simply accept it when Russia aggresses against Georgia or Moldova or our NATO allies in the Baltic states? And you have a similar situation with China and China's moves against its neighbors and into the South China Sea. You simply cannot have the law of the jungle. The United States was one of the principal architects for setting up a system in which acquisition of territory by war would not be acceptable. This was in the UN Charter, and it was in the Geneva Conventions after World War II.
Well, thank you very much for that insight, David Mack, there live from Washington, D.C.